rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective with me. I am your host, Rick. My apologies for not hitting the button right away. I got a little distracted earlier. I had an errand to run, and it took me just a tad bit longer than I wanted it to, but that's okay. I'm still here. So I understand my Florida contingent is having some challenges with some wildfires. Well, welcome to my world. Anyway, we get a lot of wildfires here in the West during the summer, particularly. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, you docked my pay again. Great. 0 off of 0 is 0. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight, of course. We are at the bottom of the order, the cleanup hitter for the Pledge of Allegiance. I personally think she is the most beautiful woman in the world, and that is none other than Mrs. Whiskey. So, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Mrs. Whiskey as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank my beloved for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file that you create, and send it off to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will, of course, get you into the rotation. I have 23 of these. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done yours yet, I would appreciate it if you would do so. And do so sometime in the very near future. I would appreciate it. So, anyway, if you use your phone, you can utilize the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. And, you can utilize that to send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will, of course, get you into the rotation as soon as possible. Anyway. All right. Anyway, hold on just a second. I got to let the dog out. Hold on. All righty. And there we go. So my apologies for that break, for that second break, for that, whatever, however long it took. Anyway. Yes, the puppy. He usually is behind me, but he's pacing back and forth. So anyway, I decided to let him out of the studio here. All right. Let's go ahead and get the headline sponsor going here, which is not showing on the video. So hold on just a second. Let me get it up here. There we go. Let's go ahead and introduce, of course, the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution is a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical world View. And they have a three-step program on how to help them do this. The first step, obviously, is to pray. Pray every day. You should always pray. By the way, you can go to their website, which is theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com is where you go to find the Institute on the Constitution on the web. But their first step is to pray. Pray for the country. Pray for, all kinds of things. Pray every day. And you can actually sign up for a daily prayer to be sent to your email box by going to theamericanview.com and signing up. And once you do that, they will send you a daily prayer, and you can pray with them, with the Institute on the Constitution and Self-Evident Ministries. Once you do that, the next thing that you need to do is you need to study. Now, the question, of course, is what do you study? Well, you study the U.S. Constitution to start. You head on over to theamericanview.com/study, and you get brought to this page where you enter your first and last name and your email address in the box. It's right above my head in the video. Click Get Lesson 1 free, and you'll be enrolled in their nationally recognized 100% free online course. It's 12 short lessons. Each lesson is about 15-20 minutes long, sent directly to your email box every single week. It's automatic. And you can go and get your study on, start studying. And then once you get done with this 100% free online course, you can then go and check out their live courses. You can see different places across the United States. They've got them all over. And you can go and check out and, register for one of their live in-person courses. And once you get done with those, then, of course, the next thing that you can do is you can act. Now, taking a class, that's an act. Becoming a member of the Institute on the Constitution, yes, that is also an act. But the best act is to become an instructor. Because when you become an instructor, you take the information that you have learned in those classes and distribute it throughout your local area. So become an instructor. I highly encourage it. Help them in their mission to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. That's what the grassroots education is finding people to become instructors and to start talking about the constitutional republic, the special constitutional republic, the only constitutional republic that has survived 250 years in our history, the constitutional republic in this country alone, right here. And you can go and check out on their Become an Instructor page, you can check out their videos about how to become an IOTC instructor, as well as 5 tips for a successful class. You can see both those videos right there. Once you get to theamericanview.com, Become an Instructor page. Then you can also order their instructor kit, which comes with all a plethora of information and tools that you can use in order to instruct people on the Constitution. You can also go and check out their shop and pick up the instructor kit there. But if you go to their shop, man, the best place to go is right here above my head, in my opinion. I mean, yes, other educational resources, self-evident apparel, the instructor materials, all that is really fantastic. But my personal favorite place in the shop is the Legacy Library. And the Legacy Library contains a bunch of leather items that are just absolutely fabulous. My personal favorite is this one right here that I'm making move. That's this guy right here. That is the leather-bound U.S. Constitution Yes, it is a fantastic copy of the Constitution. It's pocket-sized. It's a sexy rounded cornered book. And each rounded cornered book purchased will cause a leftist liberal, they're the same thing, to have a multiple non-specific gastrointestinal dysfunctions. Not to mention the fact that it's got an eighth of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here. This is stitched all the way through the pages and the leather binding. That stitching, of course, provides common sense, context, and reason in an ever-expanding world, an American perspective of sorts, according to Whiskey Warrior P1G. Yeah, I read 3 Chevys earlier. But anyway, this does have a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if something does go wrong with this book, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to achieve your civics badge in scouting, as well as that civics exam, and not to mention the fact it'll also give you information that you need for your naturalization test. Go to theamericanview.com, click on their shop, go to the Legacy Library, and pick up your Leather Constitution book today and carry it around with you. Get a few for gifts. I mean, give them out. Give them out to your friends. The ones that are conservatives who love the Constitution, who love the U.S., who love America, will love it. Those who don't, well, you already know, they might explode with gastrointestinal issues. Anyway, I would like to thank the Institute on the Constitution for being a sponsor of the program. And don't forget to go check out their website at theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview, all one word, .com. theamericanview.com. All righty. Well, Trump made an interesting observation. So apparently, we seized a couple of ships, and, well, there's some interesting stuff that was discovered on these Iranian-linked vessels. And it's now kind of thought that maybe China is trying to smuggle things into Tehran. Yeah. So, speaking in an interview with CNBC on April 21st, Trump said that the United States military seized a ship with suspicious cargo, although he did not identify the vessel. He basically said, we caught a ship yesterday that had some things on it, which wasn't very nice. A gift from China, perhaps. I don't know. He goes, I was a little surprised because I have a very good relationship and I thought I had an understanding with Xi, but that's all right. That's the way war goes, right? So, he seems a little nonchalant about that, doesn't he? Anyway, the president said in an April 21st post on Truth Social that he would indefinitely extend the ceasefire with Iran until Tehran submits a proposal to end the war. And then, of course, also keep in mind that the blockade of the Iranian ports is still ongoing. Trump suggested in the interview that Iran may have used the pause in hostilities to replenish supplies. Now, the Epoch Times can't confirm. This is where I'm going with this. The Epoch Times cannot confirm which vessel Trump was actually referring to. So, yeah. Anyway, obviously, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, I think is his name. Anyway, on April 21st, called the U.S. blockade a breach of the ceasefire. and said that striking a commercial vessel and taking its crew is an even greater violation. Yeah, they're just, puffing out their chest and trying to get things going. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Separately, the Pentagon did state that there was another Iranian-linked tanker, the MT Tiffany, that had been stopped in the Indo-Pacific region and classified as stateless. So, yeah. And by the way, former ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, said that the interception of the Tushka points to the Chinese assistance for Iran. So she thinks that the Tushka is the one that had that assistance. In an April 21st post on X, Haley said that that vessel was carrying chemical shipments for missiles. So, I mean, keep in mind, we all know, Iran, China, Russia, they're all together because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's the way it works for those folks. We all know all of that. Now, China has pushed back against the allegations. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that the ship seized by the United States was a foreign-flagged container ship and dismissed any speculations about its cargo, according to the Chinese state media outlet China Central Television. Shipping data and satellite imagery add another layer to the unfolding story, because the Tushka was tracked near Taikang Port, north of Shanghai, China, on March 25th, before docking at Gaolan Port in Zhuhai. I don't know how it's pronounced. Zhuhai. Several days later, according to satellite analysis by data analytics specialists Sinmax and cited by Reuters. China remains one of Iran's most important trading partners. So, their recent research suggests that there are commercial supply chains that may be playing an increasing role in Tehran's military capabilities. So, Now, keep in mind, nobody really knows who's in charge in Iran, because even the foreign ministry and the IRGC seem to have a problem communicating between each other. So, yeah. Anyway, as I pointed out, the United States forces seized the second tanker, or another oil tanker, shipping illicit oil from Iran in the Indian Ocean. So the Department of War shared a video on X on Thursday showing the U.S. forces boarding a tanker that is associated with the smuggling of Iranian oil. The department stated in a statement, "We will continue global maritime enforcement to disrupt illicit networks and interdict vessels, providing material support to Iran wherever they operate." Now, photos released by the department show U.S. forces boarding a ship called the Majestic X, which is a Guyana-flagged oil tanker. The U.S. Treasury Department had sanctioned the vessel in 2024. At the time, it was named the Phoenix, or maybe the Phoenix. I don't know. They might have missed the E. Anyway, for smuggling Iranian crude oil to avoid U.S. sanctions against Iran, according to the Associated Press. And that's the third ship, I think, or maybe the second ship. But anyway, this seizure follows the other one that happened on Tuesday. And Trump is putting down the law. Not like anybody really, I mean, come on, everybody knows. We put down the law. He's laying down the law. He has directed the United States Navy to shoot and kill any mine-laying boats in the Hormuz Strait. The president said that he would order the U.S. minesweeping ships to continue to clear any mines that may have been set in the strait. So they're continuing that. However, the U.S. Navy was also directed to shoot and kill any boat, including Iran's fleet of small boats that are laying mines in the strait. Trump wrote that in a post on Truth Social today. So he says, there is to be no hesitation. Good. Good. That's what it should be. The Post suggested, of course, that Trump is seeking to reopen the strait, which connects the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman in the Indian Ocean, and through which about 1/5 of the world's oil passes. It has effectively been choked off to commercial traffic since late February, although some ships are able to kind of sneak around when they turn off their transponders and such. We already have discussed that. Anyway. So, yeah, there you go. All right. And of course, keep in mind that because of the strait being significantly choked off, the price of a barrel of oil has gone up. Brent crude, which is the international standard benchmark, again reached $100 per barrel this week. But rises or has risen to $103 during trading during the morning this morning. So gas prices in the United States are an average of $4.03. I just filled up at $5.10 per gallon here in Washington, which, of course, just so you know, we have a crap ton of, we're like one of the most taxed states. So obviously, yeah, this stuff is, anyway, there you go. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? All right. That's a little early, but I'll go ahead and take a quick break before we shift gears here. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. The one thing about banking that we've seen in the last 10 years is banks work with the government, and they will actually shut you out. I mean, we've seen people like the MyPillow guy get shut out. We've seen, we've heard claims from people such as Cat Turd and, I can't think of his sidekick. But anyway, getting debanked. We've heard of that a lot. And the only way that you can really avoid that kind of stuff is to make sure that you diversify how and where you get your money from. Jewel. Thank you. Jules. That's right. Thank you. I knew my Whiskey Warrior P1s would hit me up in Rumble and let me know. Anyway, banks can freeze your accounts. Banks can shut off your cards. Banks can lock you out of your own money overnight. They don't protect you. They control you. This is why real financial freedom starts with ownership. So, Rumble has created and is now introducing the Rumble Wallet. It is considered a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can actually own Tether Gold, which is real gold on the blockchain. All right? Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars. Each one is fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold, folks. This is not an IOU. This is real gold without any bank vaults, storage fees, or even gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move the gold 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are actually closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for actual physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly through the Rumble Wallet app. peer-to-peer, and outside of the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. Go to wallet.rumble.com. That's wallet, WALLET.rumble.com. Wallet.rumble.com to find out all the details and to download the Rumble Wallet, or go directly to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the Rumble Wallet there. Again, go to wallet.rumble.com to get all the details and download the Rumble Wallet, or go directly to the App Store or Google Play to download Rumble Wallet and start tipping your favorite creators using the Rumble Wallet, so even the platform, the Rumble platform, doesn't get their hooks into it. Not that I'm saying that Rumble is bad for that. They're much better than some other platforms like YouTube or Twitch or any of those others, which take up to 50% in fees. But once again, go to wallet.rumble.com to get all of the details and take a look into diversifying where and how you get your money. All right. Well, as if there's no surprise, there was a poll that was taken here recently by Gallup. And Americans, well, their impressions of Congress are not all that great. They're kind of like impressions of, well, the Democrats. They're overwhelmingly negative about Congress, and disapproval has matched an all-time high. So just 10% of U.S. adults approved the way that Congress is handling its job. 86% disapproved. Now that's tying with the highest all-time levels. Now, Gallup pointed out that the ongoing shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, as well as conservatives and Republicans' failures or frustration, I should say, over the failure of the Senate to approve the Save America Act, which, by the way, just so you know, is, again, 71% of Democrats approve of that, 83% of independents, and 89% of Republicans approve using voter ID or using photo ID for voting. Anyway, so the approval of the current 119th Congress peaked back in March of 2025 at 31% and has steadily declined since then. Approval at 31%, man, not even a third of Americans approved of this Congress back in March of 2025, a year ago. Yeah. Anyway, Republicans, of course, have faced considerable pressure from the base as well as right-wing heavyweights in both chambers to use either the talking filibuster or to eliminate the filibuster in order to pass the SAVE Act without Democrat support. Thus far, though, the Senate Majority Leader John Thune has declined to do so. Now, this poll apparently was conducted from April 1st to April 15th. The survey questioned a little over 1,000. It's 1,001 U.S. adults and has a margin of error of plus or minus 4%. We are not happy with Congress. Yeah, I'm not happy with Congress at all. And in fact, sorry, got a little bit of a dry throat there. And in fact, well, here's our main topic. So we have good GOP and bad GOP. We're going to start with a good GOP. Well, the good GOP is this. They have actually been able to successfully block yet another attempt by the Democrats to rein in Trump's war in Iran. The Senate Republicans voted largely in unison yesterday to defeat yet another Democrat-sponsored war powers resolution that would have prohibited President Trump from continuing military operations against Iran, according to The Hill. The vote marks the fifth time that Republicans have rejected an effort to rein in Trump and bring an end to the weeks-old conflict. Notice I said weeks, not months, not years, just plain weeks. Anyway, the Senate voted 46-51 to defeat a motion to discharge the resolution from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, with only Senator Rand Paul breaking ranks among Republicans to support advancing the measure. Yeah. By the way, Rand Paul got canceled out by Senator John Fetterman, the smart Democrat, because he was the only one to vote against the resolution. So Rand Paul and John Fetterman should probably just switch parties. I mean, let's be honest. They probably should. Democrat sponsor Tammy Baldwin reiterated the Democrats' longstanding position on the Senate floor, saying that Trump had pledged during his presidential campaigns not to initiate new foreign wars. I have a question, or no, not a question, but a comment for Tammy Baldwin. Trump still is holding up that pledge. He did not initiate a new foreign war here. He is finishing off a 47-year war with Iran. He's finishing it off, folks. Yeah. 47 years. Yeah. So anyway. A Reuters Ipsos poll cited during the Senate debate and referenced in reporting found that only 36% of Americans approve of the strikes against Iran, according to the left-leaning Hill. Senate Armed Services Committee Chair Roger Wicker opposed the resolution on the floor, saying similar efforts have repeatedly failed and nothing has changed to justify a different outcome. Also, according to The Hill. Wicker said, quote, "We've been through these votes before. We've been through these votes recently, and nothing has occurred in the makeup of this body or in the situation in Iran or the Middle East to materially change since the last time we voted on this matter." He added that passing the resolution would be unwise. Yeah. So there's the good GOP. Now, unfortunately, we have the bad GOP. In particular, and Rand Paul rears his ugly head again. There are two Republican senators. I already called out one of them. The second one being Lisa Murkowski. Well, they decided to side with Democrats to block ICE and Customs and Border Protection funding. So the Senate worked overnight to advance the GOP's budget resolution to fund immigration enforcement to the tune of $70 billion in an effort to end the Democrat-induced shutdown in the Department of Homeland Security. From Wednesday afternoon to the early hours of this morning, senators voted on a slew of amendments to advance the Republicans' legislation to fund ICE as well as CBP. This legislative marathon comes amid the ongoing DHS shutdown that began mid-February. in March, the Senate approved a funding package for all of DHS except ICE and CBP in a 2 a.m. voice vote, but that was rejected by the House. Now, the House passed its own 60-day continuing resolution to fund the department in its entirety, but that was not advanced in the Senate. Now, see, if you recall, a while ago I told you this is the ping pong between the two houses in the frickin' Congress. And this is why it's, under normal circumstances, having one house being controlled by one party, the other house being controlled by the other party, sets Americans up for a really, really good position because nothing gets done. But unfortunately, when it comes to funding things or doing good deeds, the drawback or the backside of the double-sided sword is that the backside of it is that you literally can't get anything pushed through. Well, we're kind of close to that right now because of the razor-thin margins of one house that is controlling both of the Senate and the House of Representatives at this point. So anyway, the Senate budget ultimately advanced mostly along party lines, but in a 50-48 vote just before 3:30 a.m., with Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski and Rand Paul voting with the Democrats against the immigration funding. Yeah. Anyway, Chuck Schumer, of course, lashed out at Republicans for funding rogue agencies, claiming that they are out of touch with everyday Americans. Really? The Democrats are out of touch with everyday Americans on the SAVE Act, so tit for tat there, buddy. You might want to look in the mirror there, Chuckles. Anyway, despite the Democrats' predictable disapproval of the funding bill, Senate Majority Leader John Thune remains optimistic that the House will cooperate with the Senate in order to fund these key agencies. Now, keep in mind, now that the Senate has passed this, they got to kick it over to the House. The House has got to approve it in order for it to go to the desk of Donald Trump for signing into law. Now, keep in mind, earlier this month, both Thune and Mike Johnson agreed on the two-track approach that would allow to partially reopen DHS while funding immigration enforcement separately. And that's basically where we're at with this whole thing. And that's why you have ICE and CBP being ping-ponged back and forth between the two halves of Congress. All right. But that's not the only bad GOP that's going on. So, there was a push at one point to restructure or instructing the Senate's Rules Committee to find a way to add the Save America Act elements, not the act itself, but certain elements of the act into the budget reconciliation package. Well, four Republicans broke with much of the GOP conference opposing the amendment from Senator John Kennedy that was aimed at advancing these key election integrity provisions, which are, of course, backed by Trump. Those four are Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski, again, of Alaska, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, and none other than the turtle, Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. They decided to break with the GOP conference and oppose the amendment. Now, the proposed measure would have directed the Senate Rules Committee to craft legislation that would ensure that only U.S. citizens vote in federal elections, require voter identification, and limit early voting, which are the central components to the Save America Act. Kennedy acknowledged that there were some procedural hurdles to doing it this way. However, he urged colleagues to give it a try. He argued on the Senate floor, quote, "Some say it can't be done under the Budget Act and under the Byrd Rule and reconciliation." He said, and you know what? They may be right. But you know what else? They can't predict the future. They're not clairvoyant. Now, obviously, despite support from many Republicans in the attempt to do this, the amendment itself failed, with all the Democrats voting against it, and the 4 Republicans joining those Democrats to block the effort. So, yeah. Like I said, but GOP? Bad GOP. Well, Chuck Schumer, while he was arguing on the floor, he said some things that a certain new DHS secretary didn't take very kindly to. So let's take a listen to what Chucky Boy, Chuckles the Clown, said.
America will see even more clearly tonight where the Republicans are, not on the side of lowering costs, but on the side of masked agents occupying our streets. Where the heck are you? America is crying out for relief from high costs, and you're here adding $140 billion to an agency that nobody, to two groups, Border Patrol and ICE, that nobody respects in this country.
Oh, Chuckles. Chucky Boy. I point to the United States Constitution. See, I'm holding a copy, this wonderful leather-bound book that I talked about at the beginning of the show. I'm holding this in my hot little hand. And Chuck, I ask you this. Where within the United States Constitution does it say that the federal government's responsibility is to lower costs? I'm going to tell you right now. You want to know what the federal government is supposed to do? All you have to do is look under Article 1, Section 8. That's it. Just Article 1, Section 8. It's pretty clear. There's 18 individual items that are specific about what the federal government can do. And in fact, the father of the Constitution, James Madison, even called out the fact that the powers of the federal government are enumerated. Okay? Now, I don't recall anywhere under Article 1, Section 8 where it says that the federal government needs to lower costs for the American people. But I do see under Article 1, Section 8, a section that talks about naturalization and immigration. Yeah, it's item number 4 under Section 8. It says that Congress must establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws to the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. That certainly doesn't say anything about lowering costs for Americans. In fact, I don't even think the federal government should be involved in any kind of cost to Americans other than taxes. How about if you want to lower cost, how about lower taxes? How about lower your spending? on a whole bunch of things that are unconstitutional. Yeah. Anyway, in response to that, in particular, to Chuck Schumer at the end of that clip saying that nobody respects ICE and Customs and Border Protection. I hate to tell you this there, Chucky boy, but there is a whole slew of Americans that actually do. We all. The ones that are smart and know that we need borders, that we need to get rid of illegal aliens in our country, that we need law and order. Yeah, we all respect those two organizations. But all of that being said, if you thought that the old DHS secretary was a pushover, meaning, wow, I can picture her face, but I can't pull her name up right now. But anyway, if you think the old DHS secretary was a pushover, this guy, the new one, well, he's not quite so much of a pushover. And in fact, he and Rand Paul knows how much of a non-pushover this guy is. Thank you, Kristi Noem. Thank you. Yep, Kristi Noem. This guy, well, he has a few choice words for good old Chuck. Take a listen. This is Mark Wayne Mullen.
Makes my ears red. It takes a lot to get me upset. But Chuck Schumer, no one respects you. The definition of a lying scumbag politician, that is you. You would be the definition if you Googled you right now. I mean, why don't you just come out and be honest with American people? He wants to have open borders. If you want to defund the Customs and Border Protection Agency, if you want to defund ICE, who is in there arresting the criminals that the laws were passed by you, you had time to change those during the Biden administration. You didn't, because you're for open borders and you're for the criminals running amok in our cities. And for you to say that is so disrespectful to the law enforcement that is out there protecting you, because he has a detail with him. How about he walks around these city streets without a detail? I wonder how safe he would feel.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if I'd want to necessarily meet Mark Wayne Mullen in a dark alley somewhere. If I were Chucky boy, Schumer, Chuckles the clown. Yep. Well, of course, we all know Democrats love criminals. Democrats love illegal aliens. Yeah. So, anyway. Yeah, now let's be honest here. Chuckles the clown is, he's never been honest with the American people. So, why start now? By the way, Americans do respect Border Patrol and ICE. A solid 73% say that criminal illegal aliens should be deported, with over half extending that to all illegal aliens with no lawful right to be here. So obviously they respect, by association, they respect and appreciate the job that those law enforcement agencies, those federal law enforcement agencies, ICE, and the Customs and Border Patrol are doing. So, yeah. By the way, don't forget that, like I said, the disapproval of Congress is at an all-time high. So they disapprove of you, Chucky. They don't disapprove of ICE. All right. Well, really quickly here, let's take a short break, and I'll talk to you about this wonderful elixir that I drink every single morning, which is coffee. And if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's only a small number of units available. You'll be receiving the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, as well as the Vitality mushroom coffee that has clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you'll also be receiving the gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also get a frother that is strong enough not only to stir up your coffee, but also your mother-in-law's opinions about everything. which you really don't want to hear, but come out anyway. You'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just the low, low price of $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 Coffee blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to the numbers 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee, all one word, .com/studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they are gone. That is 1775coffee.com/studio to grab your starter kit. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio. And remember, 1775 is the coffee that says, "Good morning, America." Go to 1775coffee.com/studio. Grab your starter kit today. That last little bit was added by Whiskey Warrior G. Not G, not G, not Chi, but G. Oh, boy. I could have a lot of fun with that. Anyway, where was I at? Oh, yes. Well, I'm actually kind of surprised at this. I'll be honest with you. Because, I mean, I honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I'm really shocked because this is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is usually the one that is the most overturned and has been the most overturned, and especially in modern history. Well, somebody on the Ninth Circuit apparently gave them a dose of intelligence and a dose of common sense, logic, and reality. And what am I talking about? Well, do you remember that California law that Governor Newsom signed in September that required federal agents to show ID, called it the No Vigilantes Act? Well, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday permanently blocked the California law. So permanently blocked California from enforcing that law. Now, they ruled that that law was unconstitutional. Now, do you remember? I mentioned this multiple times on the show, and anybody who has a copy of the U.S. Constitution can look it up. But there's this little thing in there, and it's known as the Supremacy Clause. It basically states that anytime a federal law and a state law conflict with one another, the federal law takes precedence. Yeah. So, there you go. In the order that was written by the appeals panel, they said, "We conclude that the No Vigilantes Act attempts to directly regulate the United States in its performance of governmental functions. The Supremacy Clause forbids the state from enforcing such legislation." You know, they found that the federal government was likely to succeed on the merits of its argument and that the lower state law conflicted with the U.S. Constitution and federal law. People. I've told you this before. I mean, I don't know why these idiots keep trying to push stuff through. And eventually, I mean, you know, they find a judge that'll sympathize with them and will actually go against the Constitution if they even read the Constitution. Because let's face it, I mean, even all the way up to the Supreme Court, you have justices like Ketanji Brown Jackson who have literally zero concept of the Constitution or its interpretation or the Federalist Papers or any of the documents and historical applications of the entire Constitution. But all of that being said, yeah, it's now gone. It's done. Now, the state also passed what was called the No Secret Police Act at the same time, which was banning federal officers from wearing masks while on duty. And the U.S. Department of Homeland Security immediately announced that officers would not be complying with both of those laws. So, yeah. By the way, following the appeals court decision, Newsom's office said that the state depends on trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve, but that has been undermined during the Trump administration. That is bullcrap. Now, Newsom's spokesperson, Diana Crofts-Peleo, told the Epoch Times in an email, quote, "These laws shouldn't even be necessary. We shouldn't have unidentified masked men terrorizing our communities." Well, I got an idea for you there, little Miss Crofts-Peleo, as well as Gavin Newsom, hair gel himself. How about you guys, with your state law enforcement, actually enforce the federal laws? And when you run across an illegal alien who is a criminal, rather than giving him a slap on the wrist and sending them back out into the wild, why don't you tag them, put them in a cage, and wait for ICE to come and pick them up? Then guess what? You wouldn't have unidentified masked men terrorizing your community. I mean, honestly, that actually is the true answer to this entire freaking situation. Quit ignoring federal immigration law and assist ICE and Customs and Border Protection and the federal government in doing what they're supposed to do. That's how you avoid all of this. But no, the California wanted to go their own way, and as I pointed out on this show, as a lot of people pointed out, there's this little thing known as the Supremacy Clause. You're going to run into that, and you're going to run into it good and hard. They deserve every little bit of what they are getting here. Now, the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, who is the California Attorney General, he basically said that they were still reviewing the order and were unable to comment on a potential legal strategy, but they remain critical of the White House policies. So, yeah, whatever. Anyway. All right. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget as you leave to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, either a thumb sideways or a thumb at an angle across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.